Welcome back, everyone. This is Aviator with Aviator Games, and today we'll be completing the final part of our Gdevelop 5 platformer tutorial. Okay, so far we've created a player, a ground, and enemy, and we added behaviors. I showed you how to create the player with the internal editor. Um, Today we're gonna make the player shoot and then kill the enemy. We're going to add instance variables, and also I'm going to show you about a couple errors I found. And also, instead of using the default keys, I'm going to show you how to customize your own keys. So let's jump into it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show you is the errors. So right now I have the window settings set to 1920 by 1080. Now if you go and try to change that, oops, okay, let's change it to like 800 by 500. As you can see, nothing happened. It's still the same. So the way I fixed that, I just closed the game scene and reopen it. Scroll out, and as you can see, it changed. So hopefully the developer will fix that mistake or that problem or nuisance, I should say. Let's go ahead and change that back. Okay. The second problem I found when I was trying to click on the enemy object, it seemed like it was locked, but I did not lock it. You can lock it under the properties panel. I couldn't. Only thing I could do is just delete it, but after I delete it, I couldn't add it to the scene. So what I did was I just X'd out on the object editor and reopened it, and it was fine. I was able to add it back to the scene and move it around. Like I said, that was just like a temporary problem. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the bullet. So I click on the edit object, go to behaviors. As you can see, I added the destroy outside. Now what that does is as soon as it leaves the screen, it's going to destroy it. You don't want a million of these bullets flying around and off the screen and causing problems with your performance of the game. It's going to annoy your customer or your the user. So just go ahead and take care of that by destroying it outside of the screen. Apply. Okay, now let's go to player. As you see, I turned off default controls. If you have this on, you can control the player by using the arrow keys, but I don't want that. If it is on yours, you can leave it on if you want. But I'm gonna show you how to customize those keys. So let's go ahead and start with adding some variables. Alright, we're going to go to the player, edit variables. It's in the properties panel. Press the plus sign, go ahead and rename that to direction. The value, set that to 0 and press apply. Go to the enemy, edit variables. Change that to HP. And let's give them a value of 5. Press apply. Now go ahead and go to game events, add a empty event. Let's go ahead and take care of that variable on the player. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to variables. Oh, I'm sorry, not variables, keyboard, and key pressed. Let's start with A. Okay, so the first thing we want this to do is let's set that variable to 0. Or I'm sorry, actually it's going to be 1 because that's going to be going to the left. Alright, so go to variables, modify a variable of an object. The object is player, variable is direction, equals to 1. Okay. Also, let's go ahead and customize that key. So we want platform behavior, controls, simulate press key left key press. Object player. Okay. Let me see. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. So copy, paste. Alright. Change this to D. And change this to 0. And then come back to here and change that to simulate right key being pressed. Alright, so when we press A, we're gonna go to the left, or we're gonna go to the left, and we're gonna set this direction variable to 1. When we press D, we're gonna set the variable to 0 and simulate the right key being pressed. So let's go check that out, see if it's working. Alright, cool, it's working. Now we want to make the player face the left when we hit the A key. So you could draw this sprite facing left, or you could do something simpler and you can just flip this horizontally. So let's go ahead and do that. So add another action. We're gonna go to sprites, effects, flip the object horizontally. Object is player, yes. Then same thing for the next one, effects, flip the object, player, and then hit no. Okay, let's try it out. There's D, there's A. Alright. Okay, now also let's make sure you keep on saving your project. You don't want to do a lot of work and then the program crash. And then you have to restart it. So let's go ahead and save. Alright, let's handle the firing. Add another condition. Let's go to keyboard, key pressed. I like to use the left control, so I'm gonna do this shortcut. So LC, left control. Alright, add a timer. So you scroll down to timers and time. Value of a timer. Time in seconds. Let's go ahead and put that at 0.25. And then the name of the timer, fire rate. Remember how you spelled this, whether you used uppercase or lowercase. That's going to be important. Or when you try to reset this timer and use the wrong spelling, it's not going to do anything. This timer's going to keep going up and up and up and up. Alright, so we got that. And then we want to add a sub condition. Or sorry, sub event. Alright, and we want to check that variable. So go to variables, value of an object variable. Object is player. Variable is direction. Equal to, let's start with the left, 1. So if the left control key is pressed, that's going to return true. And then it's going to move on to this. The timer fire rate is greater than 0.25. Once that happens, it's going to turn true, and then it's going to jump over here to this the sub event. And then it's going to the next thing it's going to check is if the direction is equal to 1. If that's true, we want something to happen in this action box. All right, so let's go ahead and add those actions. First action we want to happen is we want to create an object. So go ahead and go to objects, create an object. The object is going to be bullet, and we want to create the X position, so player's X position. And I actually created an edit point, a new edit point in under the player in the edit object. I called it bullet point. I'll show you that in a second. Oops. Bullet. Oh, I cannot spell today. Bullet point. Go to Y. Let me show you that real quick. Right click on the object, edit object, edit, then go to edit points. Now as you can see, this third custom point is just ahead of the sprite. So that would actually let me modify that. Let's do 100. All right, so it's a little further out. So all I did was I hit this plus sign, and it created that point. And then you have to fill in these two values, the X and Y value. So with these values, it put the point up here, right here. So whenever we hit that control button and it creates that bullet object, it's going to put it right here. Okay, let's close that, apply. Now let's go ahead and play this. Let's see if it's going to create that object. I'm holding down the control key. There we go. So I'm hitting A. So when I hit D, it's not doing nothing because I haven't programmed that yet. So when I turn to A, remember it's setting that direction variable. So that's working. All right. So now let's get that bullet moving. So now we want to add a force at an angle. So let's go to common action for all objects, movement, add a force at an angle. The object is bullet, angle. Since it's going to the left, we want 180. It goes 0 is right, 990 is up, 180 is to the left, 270 is down. Speed, make that 1000. Dampening 1. Again, so let's press OK. And then the next thing we want to add is we want to reset that timer. So once we fire that bullet, it's going to, like I said, we're going to create the bullet. It's going to add that force and then reset the timer, and that's going to make the timer go back to 0, and pretty much it's going to keep creating that bullet at that set time. So let's go ahead and go back to timers and time, reset a timer. We called it fire rate. Okay, now let's test that out. There we go. Now, if let's say we change that timer value to 0.20 instead of 2.5, it's going to shoot those bullets faster. Or if we change it to, like, 1, then that's going to shoot that bullet every 1 second. Or if you set to 2, 3, so on and so on. Alright, let's go ahead and do it for the right side. So hit this little arrow key right here to hide that sub event. Click somewhere in the empty section. Copy. Click over here again and paste, and it copied all this stuff. So the left control key is pressed. Timer fire rate is greater than 0.25. Let's change this value to 0. Okay, and change the angle to 0. That's going to shoot it to the right. Alright, let's save. And let's check this out. Oh, I messed that up. 0. Forgot to do. I didn't hit enter. Okay, now it's going to go to the right. Hit D. A. Got that working perfect. Alright, so as you can see, the bullets are going right past the enemy. Well, that's not going to work. Let's go ahead and change that. Let's go and add the collision event. Add a new empty condition. We want to go to collision. The collision is going to be between the bullet and the enemy. Press OK. So when that bullet hits the enemy, we want that bullet to delete itself. So go to Objects and delete an object, and we want to delete the bullet. Okay. Now the next thing we want to do, if that bullet hits that player, we want to modify the enemy player. We want to modify the enemy's instance variable HP. So you go to Object. Variables. Modify modify a variable of an object. Enemy. HP. We want to subtract. Let's only subtract 1. Okay. And then we want to add another empty event. Okay, so now we're going to check for the variable of the enemy. So go to variable, value of an object, variable, enemy, variable is HP. Let's say less or equal to 0. Reason why you set it to less or equal to is because you might be shooting so fast that when it hits 0, another bullet might hit it and go to -1 or -2, -3. So we want to check if it's at 0 or below. So if you just check if it's at 0, and then like I say, it gets hit by another bullet, it's going to switch to -1, and it's not going to destroy the enemy because it's no longer at 0. So it's good to get in the habit of doing less or equal than, unless you know that you set a maximum or a minimum for that variable, which I'm gonna go ahead and do. So all right, let's create another empty event. Okay, let's check for that variable again. Object enemy variable is going to be HP. The same thing, less or equal to 0. If it's less or equal to 0, then let's go back to variables. Modify a variable of an object. Enemy variable HP. Let's set that to 0. So even if it goes to -1 or 2, it's automatically going to switch right back to 0. So then you can set this to just equal 0, but I'm gonna keep it like that just for now. Alright, so if the variable HP of the enemy is less or equal to 0, we want to destroy that enemy or that object. So delete an object enemy. Alright, so we should be set. Let's go ahead and save the project. Press play. Hit D. So we change that variable to 0. Hit Control. There we go. Let's try that again. I want to make sure that it is indeed hit them 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And that's it. So if you like the tutorials, show some love, hit that like button, write a comment. If you don't like something about it, let me know. If I made a mistake, go ahead and say something. If you, like I said, if you wanna make a request, say, or you run into a problem, you want me to make a tutorial about it, if I know how, I'll go ahead and investigate it and try to fix that problem, then make a tutorial. Also, if you want to support me, go ahead and go to my Patreon account or page. It's down there at the bottom. Go ahead and click that and subscribe. I'm not greedy. If you just want to do like $1 or something like that, hey, that's great. I'll keep on making tutorials. Also, that's going to allow me to finish my games and keep pumping those things out for free. All right. Once again, thank you very much, and have a nice day.